Hey everyone, Delphi Group here with the weekly market report. So let's just dive right into it. We are going to start with Bitcoin because all our targets are just hitting everywhere. Okay, so if you guys remember last week, we mentioned we had a target on Bitcoin up here near 98,000 off of this flag pattern. Well, that target has hit. Okay, and now there is another flag pattern working here, which Bitcoin is currently in, and this flag points to just under 106,000. So we'll have to see what happens here if we go sideways, if we chop around in this flag pattern, or if we get a breakout and then head higher. Okay, there are a couple hurdles here. 98,000 will be resistance, 100,000. But, before we get ahead of ourselves, we need the breakout of this pattern. But again, our 98K target has hit, which again, we called back roughly around 84,000, okay, on the breakout here, and 86,000 on the breakout here. So we did play calls for this move. We cashed out on many crypto calls. So that was an amazing signal and pattern for us on Bitcoin. Okay. Now, before we jump to Thinkorswim and look at the indexes, let's go back and take a listen at what we said, what we were looking for last week.
The Russell, the IWM, that has an overbought reading at 150. That has come down to, I believe, 147. SPX is around 35. But the one we want to highlight here is the NDX. Okay, this has been extreme overbought 5 days now, going into 6 tomorrow. Okay, we can see your nominal overbought reading is 200. I mean, this has been as high as 260. It's at 247 now. But what's interesting about this now, unfortunately, this doesn't give us in this case, the reversal lower to the day. Okay, this will happen anywhere between 1 to 6 days. Okay, so you have to be careful trading this, and you have to know how to trade it, because again, I mean, you don't want to be early. But what's interesting here, day 5 was today. We have only seen day 5 less than a handful of times, and we've only seen day 6 once. We have never seen a day 7. Okay, so what does that mean? That means, we could be ready for a reversal in the indexes. Now, we do have earnings coming up. Amazon, Microsoft, Apple are all this week. So who knows what's going to happen with the earnings. But as far as indicators goes, and as far as this goes, we should be expecting a reversal, a good reversal.
Okay, so here we are back on Thinkorswim. We're looking at the SPY, and like we said last week, because of one of our indicators, we're showing extreme overbought. We said we were looking for a reversal the next day, okay, at the very least the day after. Well, lo and behold, what happened here, okay? This green candle after that red was last Tuesday, okay? So what happened? And on our call that we nailed, okay? So that day, if we look above up here, when I roll my cursor over the candle, the SPY closed at 554.32. Okay, what was the low the next day? The low the next day was 541.52. Okay, that's roughly a 13-point drop in the SPY the very next day when we called it off of our MO indicator. Okay, so we nailed that target on the call. So that was an amazing call for a reversal the very next day, which did end up happening. Okay, and how did this translate into our community? Well, if we go back in our testimonial channel here, again on the 30th, the very next day, we were positioned for that reversal. Okay, and we can see our community cashed out huge. Okay, again, here's April 30th in our testimonial channel. Stephen, okay, we'll get to car in a minute, which was our free trade or free analysis trade. But again, you can see here, okay, he cashed out on IWM puts, BA puts, SPY puts. Okay, these cars were puts that we traded. Okay, look at that. All because of our indicator on the 30th. Okay, Michael, we had a trade on IWM. Again, and you can see what he did here. He bought those for 159 and finally cashed out for 403. Monster gains again off of our indicator that nobody has out there. Okay, no platform anywhere has what we have here at Delphi. Okay, so we nailed that call. And before I get to the forecast, we can see our target from last week hit here on the SPY the very next day and surpassed it. But before I get to the forecast again, I want to take a quick look at our MO indicator from yesterday. Okay, again, this thing is nailing market directions left and right. Yesterday, okay, we can see here on the 5th, we had overbought readings on the SPY, on the SPX, on the NASDAQ, close on the Russell. But again, what happened here? Well, we took some trades off of our MO indicator again for today. Okay, and what happened with those trades? Well, we cashed out today for some monster winners here on the indexes. We had puts on Microsoft, Qs, SPY we took today, some puts, okay, more Qs. And you can see what these gains amounted to overnight. Okay, why? Because of our MO indicator was overbought. So we were looking for a drop in the indexes, and this morning the indexes did drop a good amount, and we cashed out of all those puts for some monster gains in the community. Okay, so now let's get to the forecast. Okay, again, this is a SPY. We can see our target from last week hit here and surpassed. So what are we seeing here now on the SPY? Again, the markets are closing in about a minute, but and there's the close of the day. And so we came up to resistance here again, and we were looking for a pullback, which matched up the MO indicator, and we got that pullback. And now we are pivoting lower here, okay? We did have a stretch of lower volume. At the end of the day here, we did get, it looks like we got a rush in here. But again, we just got a nasty market sell-off at the end of the day, it looks like. Okay, let's look at the minute chart. Yeah, I mean, look what just happened at the end of the day. Just a complete crash, okay? Literally within 10 minutes, okay? So that is not a good look for tomorrow. And again, remember, tomorrow we have the Fed talking, coming out with the rates and stuff like that. So who knows what's going to happen, okay? But yeah, now looking at the daily chart, that was the weekly. So I am going lower here. There is a gap here on the SPY at 556.52. I do think that's going to fill. It just missed filling today. So I am going to go to fill that gap, and the averages are right below. So I am going to go down to fill that gap and maybe go a little lower on the SPY. So that's where I'm going to go, just maybe fill the gap a little lower. That's my forecast for next week, for our call next week on the SPY. Okay, look at our indicators below. CCI way overbought, pivoting lower, stochastic way overbought, and crossing with a sell signal. And there is a gap down here as well. So you need to watch these averages here. If those averages fail, chances are we're going to go down to that support at 525 and fill that gap. So keep a mental note of that on those averages. Okay, let's go to the Qs. Qs is going to be a similar situation here, similar setup. So I'm just going to go right to the forecast. I am going lower. That gap is still open at, what is that gap? That gap is at 477.20. Okay, so I am going to go lower here, down to that gap, maybe a little lower on the Qs. Okay, and again, watch out for the averages, because again, there is another gap down here near support. I believe that's 450. So if we breach those averages, good chance we're going to go down to fill that gap. Okay, but for now, that's where I'm going to fill this gap on the Qs. All right, IWM. Here we are, okay, and same situation. The only difference here, IWM had a gap that it did fill today, and then it bounced. So remember, 80% of the time when gaps fill, stocks or indexes could reverse. But again, look what's happening here on the IWM. We have 9 straight green days. Okay, that's called a stale green light. That is extremely bearish. Okay, if we go back and look as far back as we can see here, we have not, I don't think we've been over 5 or 6 days. Okay, here was 5 green days. Okay, and what happened? Okay, then we reversed lower. Okay, so again, here's another example. Here was 6 days. Okay, and then what happened? We went up for 6 days and then reversed. We're at 9 right now. So I am looking for a continued move lower. We do have support here on the averages, which are about 194, 193, 194. So that's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go a couple points lower and see what happens from there. So I'm going down to the averages for IWM. And again, watch out. There is a gap here below. So if those averages do fail, we could be going a lot lower on IWM. And we might still be in puts here if that does happen. Okay, so those are my forecasts. And again, all our targets have hit. You can see IWM hit last week, the very next day. And then Qs, if you just look at that again from last week, that target here hit again the very next day on the market reversal that we called. Okay, so before we go, let's look at what our free play or analysis on Avis Budget did last week. And again, we made that prediction here, and what happened the very next day? Avis crashed. We can see here on this, it was down at the time $4. Okay, and it went a little lower to hit very close to our target, which we had puts in our community had puts, which I showed you, and we cashed out those puts for really nice gain here. You could see car 430. We did 150%, got in at 160. They hit $4. Okay, so again, this is why we do what we do here at Delphi, and nobody out there does what we do. So I hope you guys enjoy it. This video, let's see what happens coming up for next week on our weekly market report. Have a great week. Good luck trading and take care.